The Gillard government's trying to tackle the opposition's scare campaign on carbon tax head-on by releasing Treasury estimates about the tax's economic impact. In a speech in Canberra today, the Treasurer Wayne Swan said the figures prove the carbon tax will have a negligible effect on wages, growth and employment. Uncertainty around the politics of the issue is prompting warnings of a dire impact on the electricity sector. As Greg Hoy reports, some industry players say get ready for power shortages and widespread blackouts.
As we speak here, there's rallies going around in each state and territory of Australia.
Yes, Australia! Yes, Australia!
Fact or fiction? Heat is rising in the carbon debate, prompting dire warnings that with growing investment uncertainty, rising demand for electricity will outgrow the security of supply, threatening widespread brown or blackouts.
We are likely to be running into a shortage of capacity sometime within the next 5 years. Where you'll see the problems are during peak loadings, and that will just mean that we'll have less reliable electricity than we would normally want.
It's a view heavily promoted by the carbon-exposed coal-fired power industry, which generates the vast majority of the nation's electricity.
I think there's going to be real challenges during the peak times.
The head of Australia's largest private electricity utility, International Power, agrees.
It's taken almost 50 years to build that infrastructure. You can't just close your eyes and wish for that all to change.
We're not seeing a great deal of investment in whether it's a baseload supply or peak supply now because of this uncertainty.
But some in industry say the situation is nowhere near so dire, given sound investment over the past decade.
There's been more than 10,000 megawatts of new electricity generation in the market, which is between 20 and 25% of the total existing capacity. So that's a pretty high replacement rate. You'd say that that's quite a lot of investment for a market of our size over that period of time. And right up, even through today, you've got a lot of investment going on in wind and the solar. And you're also seeing investment in the peaker plants.
Origin Energy's Carl McCamish was formerly Senior Energy Advisor to the UK Prime Minister's Office and Deputy Head of the UK's 2006 Energy Review.
Will there be shortages?
Yeah, I really don't think it's not a question of power shortages. Power shortages only happen if you've got not enough capacity in the system. And the peaker plants, the smaller plants that can ramp up and down quickly at times of peak demand, they're the ones, as I say, that we've been investing in and the market is projecting to invest in as well. They will cover the issue of the lights going off.
But coal-fired power producers have much to lose and much to gain from this debate, especially the biggest and dirtiest of all, the brown coal-fired Hazelwood plant in Victoria. It pumps 8% of Australia's electricity into the national grid and 3% of the nation's total emissions into the atmosphere. Its future under the carbon cloud. Hazelwood's local management, International Power, wouldn't talk to 7:30. Overseas, its owner, the global Goliath, GDF Suez, boasts its clean energy credentials.
Like providing cleaner, more reliable sources of energy. GDF Suez, rediscovering energy.
But the company's Australian subsidiary is seeking compensation from government if a carbon price is imposed, claiming this would breach a government approval in 2005 extending the licence to operate the controversial Hazelwood power plant.
As a result of that approval, we then invested another $500 million into that asset based on that. So what we're talking about is we cannot deal with chopping and changing of policy. It's called sovereign risk.
But is it really sovereign risk when a public statement announcing the government approval at the time specifically mentioned carbon emissions? A future greenhouse gas emissions trading scheme will still apply to Hazelwood Power Station and could place obligations on Hazelwood's owners additional to requirements of the deed.
Anyone in industry knows that major companies for quite some time have been factoring in a price on carbon to all their major investment decisions.
For how long?
I would suggest at least 10 years.
The Grattan Institute's Energy Director Tony Wood spent 11 years as an executive in the power industry and 3 as Director of the Clinton Foundation's Clean Energy Program.
If you're an asset owner, you don't like change. We may see black coal generators running more than brown coal generators. We may see gas generators running more than coal generators, but it'll be different.
The problem is Australia's reliance on emissions-intensive coal power is rising, as are global carbon concerns. At business forums, both here and overseas, there is talk of inevitable investment changes ahead.
The stresses in the energy and other related systems are real and are building, and inevitably will force transition.
I think the expectation in industry is that at some stage, it may not be immediately, there will be a price on carbon. So industry does plan for that in the longer term.
Companies around the world who can see the future first and get there first are the ones who are going to capitalise.
The suggestion is energy companies with the most flexible and cleanest fuel sources are the best investment in the brave new carbon-conscious world.
The biggest, fastest, most reliable way to start addressing this now is through gas. Gas-fired power stations emit less than half the CO2 of a coal-fired power station.
But coal is cheaper, so to reduce reliance on it will require a carbon price. The proposed price of $20 to $25 a tonne will make black coal power plants more profitable and so more productive than messier brown coal plants like Hazelwood. But greater investment in gas will require a bigger carbon price again.
If you do want to create the significant change that comes with moving to more gas baseload, then you are looking at prices that are above 20 to 25. You're looking more 35 and above.
Which would, of course, mean a politician's picnic. But would it mean the end of the world as we know it? Are the days of cheap power in Australia past?
Relative to cost of living, our energy prices are going to stay relatively low. So I don't think this is a fundamental risk to our standard of life.
Australian electricity prices, even today, after significant increases recently, are at the average, or at the price they were as a proportion of average Australian household income about 40 years ago. There will be pressure upward on fuel prices, but seen in an overall context and compared to other countries, Australia will remain a low to average cost country for electricity.